Welcome to the All in Recruitment podcast by Manatal, where we explore best practices, learnings, and trends with leaders in the recruitment space. If you like our content, please subscribe to our channels on YouTube and Spotify to stay tuned to our weekly episodes. My name is Lydia, and joining us today is Alex Herr, Global Employer Branding Manager at GoDaddy. Hello, Alex. Thank you for joining us today.
Hey, Lydia. Thanks for having me.
So, Alex, you head up the global employer branding function at GoDaddy, and you have been in the employer branding space now for more than 5 years. So, walk us through your journey, Alex, and why employer branding has become a topic that you are passionate about.
I don't think my journey was any. Yeah, it's unique, right? Everyone has a unique way where they find themselves, just kind of sliding in or bumping into employer branding. But I started off actually doing help desk work, and then into workers' comp insurance, so labor insurance might be the term for that elsewhere. And then hopped into helping out some family with the restaurants out with social media to get that experience. And
right, the restaurant.
Restaurant. So I've got have a cousin who has a Thai restaurant. So it was okay. Hey, I'll run your social media for free, and I can try out these different practices that I was learning in school. And I'll do this for free. You'll get all the the coverage. Had another cousin who had a egg roll restaurant, so still like a Thai influence as well. And then moved over to a digital marketing agency here in Austin, Texas.
Right.
And learned everything from email marketing to ops reporting, social media planning, SEO, running campaigns from start to finish. And then took a chance on a contract position at a company here called Cox Enterprises, and got in there. And then I got in. I was handling the employer brand for the automotive sector, Cox Automotive. So they have Auto Trader, Kelley Blue Book, some of their more global brands, and it just, for me, it resonated because it took everything that I really enjoy doing. I love the tech, love the social media, and then the whole SEO and digital marketing aspect. And then what stood out to me the most was I'd been looking for jobs prior to coming down to Austin, Texas, and it was looking at some of the things that attracted me to go work for employers, right? So the photos of the team out there, supporting the community, ping pong tables, having fun together with their teammates, and the perks and the benefits. So it was taking that and then having my own spin on that with what was given to me at that company, Cox Enterprises. So was able to take that and just work with a lot of phenomenal people who knew all these different aspects better than I did, right? So just pick their brains and be as much of a sponge as possible to like soak in all I could from them. And then went over to Informatica, where I ran their employer brand shop across 27 countries as a team of one. And then after that, over here to GoDaddy, where I've been for the last year and a half. But it's been a good journey. But I mean, I guess I love what I do here and love the employer branding space because it gives me a chance to give back to others, right? At the end of the day, you're still educating people, but you're helping people, get into what may be their dream company, whether it be the perks, the benefits, the EVP. There's something that resonates for them, right? And you helping them get there, and just joining your regional team, your global team is fulfilling.
And I like how you've placed yourself as a person who is looking for jobs and looking out for the things you want to see in an employer, and that sort of influenced and helped you to build on all the things that and enter the employer branding space. And also from the outside looking in at GoDaddy especially, I like seeing how the word empower itself is a theme that permeates the brand, in fact. And you have thousands of employees, and your career page, I've noticed, even encourages employees to work a side hustle. So how have candidates really responded to that? And what's the thinking behind that?
Yeah. I mean, our tagline is "You belong here," and that's intentional because you belong here, whether you live thousands of miles away, whether you work remote. go in hybrid to the office or have a side hustle. And I think it's candidates have responded well. I mean, I'll be honest, at first, even with myself, when I heard, okay, hey, you can have side hustles, most firms or corporations don't allow that, right? That's typically frowned upon. But it was shared to me in full detail by eventually my leadership. It said, yeah, we'll give you the tools, right? Free marketing tools. You can go out there. We actually encourage you to go create your own, if I want to go get a hold of alexher.com or whatever, grab as much as you want. Like they encourage you to do that because we feel, okay, we're going to support you along the way. Even if you have a side hustle, we have tons of teammates who have side hustles. We'll encourage you to do that. And I know other candidates like I was once before are surprised by that. It's you're almost thinking, okay, it's a it's there's got to be a catch to it, but then it's true. I've been for a year and a half, and it has not changed. I mean, it's from top to bottom, everyone does support you to have that side hustle and just but do what you want to do to be happy, but you don't need to hide that from your leadership.
And I understand from some of your previous talks that you've been a soccer player.
Yes. Many years ago, right? I mean, I could still get out there and play, but not the same level. But yeah, I played up until at least my early 30s, and then at that point, it was just for fun. It was never going to go to a different level, but it was a lot of fun growing up as a kid.
The sports team mindset is perhaps what also influenced your one of a concept that you came up with for employee branding, and it's called team, right? So tell us about that.
Yes, good segue there and good connection. I've always been a team player, especially when it comes to sports. And then when it comes to employer branding, that is it's very much the same approach there, and it's it's not by coincidence. But so the team concept is basically just breaking it down. The T's for time, E empathy, the A for advocacy, and then the M to magnetize. And the key thing behind it is it takes a team of your teammates, right? Not just within TA, not just within employer branding, but within the entire company. So across the different departments and stakeholders to make everything happen. When you do that, you can be successful. That's what I've done. Indirectly at each and every position. But eventually, that's what when I was coming up with this concept in early April. That's what ultimately brought me back to everything. It's like, okay, when I look at everything here, it requires a team. So let's call a team and just we'll define each aspect of it.
And this, you said you came up with this in April this year, right?
Yeah. So I was prepping for RecFest in London. So it was a pretty big event to go to, and I could always give the employer brand 101 talks or how to audit social channels or start from scratch, but I wanted to do something different and just kind of lean on my approach that I've had at all my different stops along this journey, and that's what brought me to creating that concept.
And building a strong employer brand is something that is meant for the long haul, and it takes time, as you've said in your concept as well. But for some companies, especially for those, without a mature employer brand, there is that challenge of connecting the employer brand with the corporate brand and as well as the pillars of its business. So how do you develop a strong EVP to ensure that your town strategies, your employer branding strategies for business and culture are both aligned?
Well, they can't be siloed. I think what happens far too often is someone comes in and they're working at either in TA or internal comms, and it's great to come up with an EVP, right? I'm always going to be an advocate for that, but what's happening with the business, the culture, mission, the values, and all that good stuff, because we've seen the EVP grow and develop into something I would say for it to be a force to be reckoned with that can really go out there and attract some talent. It needs to take into consideration, okay, where's the business at? Your mission, your values, the culture. Does it all line up? And then fuse that in together with the EVP. But in most cases, again, it's being done on its own. And when that happens, right? When that happens, it's tough to go out there and find people because you're selling them on one thing, but then when they do join the company, your EVPs almost becomes it's like almost like a marketing scheme. I would say in a negative way because you're selling them on something, they come in and they realize this is not what I'm getting. So I think if done correctly, again, working with your other internal stakeholders, which is what should be done regardless of where you're at in this journey, then it can be can be the right tool, the right means to go out there and attract the talent that you want to join your company.
So let's talk about where we're headed into for the new year. We are in an economic pinch right now, and we've seen layoffs happening. So how do you approach employer branding in a time when companies are downsizing, essentially?
You focus on what because I mean companies are so regardless of what people how you want to phrase it, we're going into it's an economic downturn. There's a mini recession, probably full blown recession to come. But you need to look at what you are offering job seekers because all that stuff is happening, but there's still people who are out there, still job seekers market who are out there fighting for jobs, right? And depending on what type of the type of employee you're trying to have join your teams, whether it be software engineers or marketing and sales professionals, they can still they still have a strong hold of the market in a good way where okay, they can pick and choose where they want to go and where they want to be. So it's looking at what do you offer them? They can get the pay, they can get the perks and the benefits, but what are some of the things that really matter to them, right? Like, for us, I would say, we're going to offer them a solid salary. And then, depending on where they're located, those benefits will be unique to that too. But we offer them the opportunity to truly come here, be themselves, and have that growth and opportunity where they're not limited by their geographic location or the team that they're on, right? You can grow here. But then on the flip side, I would say there are companies where, okay, they have laid off people, right? And you're playing defense. And, a pretty well-known company that was in that position before, 2.5 to 3 years ago when we first got into this whole pandemic was Airbnb. They did a phenomenal job, right? They first, they were on the defense when it comes down to PR, but they owned up to where they had to lay people off. They put it side by side, which their business relied heavily and still relies heavily on people going out there and renting these places to make them successful. And they owned up to that, and then have turned things around to okay, hey, now people don't even remember when they they had laid people off and had a list of employees there and how many people were impacted. It's almost it's a distant memory. Now you talk about okay how great their CEO is, how they've allowed people to go work from other places. So, but then for every company that can do that, there's still the companies who okay they're still navigating this right, and it's a bumpy road. I would say for them what they will have to look at is okay what are they doing right now, right? Leverage existing content, see what they're doing to get past the layoffs that they've had happen, but. Each situation is unique on its own.
As you've rightly pointed out earlier, collaboration is key, right? So you've got to work not just with, within the employer branding team, but also with internal communications and TA, etc. And especially so in periods of downsizing and layoffs, this collaboration with internal communications and HR becomes very critical. What are some steps that employer branding professionals should take to work together with HR and maybe corporate communications to ensure that the messages there, however difficult, conveyed smoothly and with empathy?
I think across all teams, right? You've got to be speaking as one. Very difficult when the employer brand is talking one way, internal comms is talking one way, and internally, and then the marketing and branding team is let's say you just laid out 10% of your workforce last week. The next week suddenly you're out there sharing, hey, this is how amazing our product is, and come join us here. We have these phenomenal speakers. I think that really does more harm, right? And that impacts everybody, everyone that's attached to the company. So coming up with an actual comms plan where okay, hey, listen. If we've been impacted by this, what do we do? Okay, maybe it's all right. Let's go a little bit silent here on social, and anywhere else where we have comms going out, let's go a little bit silent there. Let's see where we're at. Okay, what can we do? How can we, okay, let's put together maybe a plan where we all come together, all these different departments, and we put a list of employees who have been impacted, right? And then showing, okay, that empathy, okay, we are helping out these individuals. And then you slowly merge back in with, content that you all agree upon. And then maybe, within months, you go back to business as usual. But I think having each individual department kind of do their own thing and stay siloed is the worst thing that could happen.
Through these processes, you also have communication, as you said, external as well as internal, and employer brand works both ways. So how do you ensure that the employer brand continues to be reflected throughout this transition processes as people are laid off, or as you start hiring again?
Well, having that voice at the table, that seat at the table, whether it be in person or virtually, because what we forget is the employer brand is that the singular touch point for employer brand is not when we bring people in externally, right? It's even when it comes through during that candidate experience, but it's the offboarding process, whether it be voluntary or involuntary when it's a layoff. It's okay, how can we fuse in something? Everything that you've created when it comes to your AVP, your messaging, any sort of content that you've created or are creating when it's coming down to layoffs or downsizing, you should have a seat at the table, and then have that employer brand influence that touches each aspect of that, whether it be emails that are going out, any sort of sites or blogs that you're creating, any social posts that are going out. I think it's crucial for the employer brand to be a part of that in any shape or form.
In talking about the employer brand, it's also key to ensure that you are showing off your diversity inside the workforce, right? And in lots of places, especially those companies that are more progressive around this and have adopted DE&I strategies, they make sure to allow the messages to go out through their visuals, through their videos, through the words that they use on their career pages, etc. So just jumping into workforce diversity, etc., we will also talk about technology and how technology might help in ensuring diversity in hiring practices.
Yeah, so let me first say that employer brand should work, side by side with, your DEI and B efforts. If you have a separate team, phenomenal. But it shouldn't be I don't ever want it to come across where employer brand is saying, okay, let's take some stock photos to show we have diversity. Actually, you'd be very intentional about that, right? If you do have a strong, diversity practices and program in place, work side by side with the employer branding team, or if you have a unique setup where you're all together, even better. But I think technology can definitely help out with diversity when it comes to hiring practices, but it has to be done the right way. There's always a huge push for automation in our space when it comes to recruitment, and I think the technology can be good if there still has to have that human aspect that's tied into it. Because if we're just, let's say, for example, relying on recruiters and sources to go out there and use a tool, and it's supposed to, in a sense, give us diversity and help us out with best hiring practices to hit gender diversity, ethnic minorities. But if we're not watching that and keeping a close eye on that and just making sure that it's fine tuned, I think it's easy for us to actually have a negative impact. And then instead of going after this specific number, to meet whatever goal you have as a company, it could be going a whole different direction instead of where you want to be. So technology is good, but having that human aspect is still going to be key.
Absolutely. And this is where, diversity in hiring practices, diversity in business practices, they all really matter as well, because it's the people that are driving it. And so on that note, what are some actionable steps perhaps that leaders and hiring managers themselves can take to ensure that D&I actually is implemented in the workplace?
Yes, I mean, look at what space you're in. Like for example, when it comes to engineers, okay, yes, I think it's gender diversity is always a strong balance when it comes to engineering teams, but so much of the focus is always on, okay, how do we get more more ladies to join the engineering space? And that decision is made a whole lot sooner and a whole lot earlier than we anticipated to, because most companies are thinking, okay, let's get them when it's after college, or maybe like that, maybe the final year of college, university, and then when they're looking to make that transition. But at that point, maybe they've already considered to go somewhere else. But what we've done here in the States and some other countries is look back at where if they're in elementary or primary school, middle school there, that's where the programs would help out. Where go through, and if you want to help out the the future engineers, the leaders of tomorrow, it's helping them out there, giving those options. Where instead of just going out to be in a lawyer or a doctor, engineering could be an option. Give them that option way earlier than later.
And you have plenty of experiences in this space. What advice would you give, Alex, to someone starting out in employer branding today in the midst of uncertainty?
Well, I think you need to be a jack of all trades. I know that was frowned upon early, and I think in 2019, 2020, but you need to come in essentially, I would say, being a jack of all trades, a project manager. You need to be willing to educate people, but also sell to people. And I know that sounds crazy too, but you're always educating your stakeholders on what it is that you do, because for the person that has an idea of what you do, there's a person who just thinks it's stuff on social media, or who doesn't feel that what you do is actually relevant. It's gotten better, but you're always going to deal with those type of individuals, and then you have to sell your stakeholders on participating in these different things that you do, because we always see the finished product in terms of the content marketing or the recruitment marketing that individuals like I are creating. So you'll see this hiring manager in a video, like a TikTok video, one via iSIMS Video Studio, or these blogs that are pushed out there. But the work that goes into that is sell them to say, hey, this is why you should do it. Getting that buy-in, finding the right balance on what you can share, what you cannot share, and then getting all that produced, right? That's a lot of work. So if you're just expecting to jump into the space and people are just going to hand you over this content, you're going to be let down. You're going to be let down. You'll burn out and you won't last long. But if you know that, hey, it's one where you're going to be constantly on your toes. You get to work hard. You get to fight for people to buy into your program, to believe into what you're doing. Then hey, I think you'll be rewarded, and there's a constant challenge with doing that. So always being on your toes, knowing that there's a constant battle, but I mean it's rewarding once you can get that buy-in and truly grow your program. But it's not for the faint of heart.
That's great. It's also really persuading people to see the value of all the work that goes in as well, and why it's important, especially when you want to attract the right kind of talent to your organization. So thank you very much, Alex, for your time and your insights today. I'm sure the audience wants to know where they can connect with you. So where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn and Twitter. And then, for any sort of, if you want to see the work that we're doing here at GoDaddy, you can go to GoDaddy.com. But more specifically for careers and the employer branding work that we've done as a team, go to careers.godaddy.com and just check out any of the social handles that we have under GoDaddy Life. We also have a blog too that focuses on the various teammates that we have located across the globe.
And we have been in conversation with Alex Herr, Manager Global Employer Branding at GoDaddy. If you like our content, please subscribe to our channels to stay tuned for more weekly episodes of All in Recruitment. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.